This is the amp press. It's been out for quite a while. I've done other videos on it, but I thought it was time to revisit it and show you exactly why I still think it is an important piece of reloading gear, especially for people who shoot competitions. Let's go take a look. And this is how I normally have it set up when I am using the amp press. I have my computer over here so that I can see it. I have my amp press here. I have whatever tray I'm using to hold rounds. In this case, I need to hold 100 rounds. So I just pulled one of these out of my MTM box. And I'm going to be loading all, where did they go? I'm going to be loading all 100 or whatever's in here, 98 or whatever it is, of these pieces of brass. They're all going to go into this tray, and they're going to go in numerical order of how I load them. And then we're going to be watching the amp press over here. I'm going to show you my process for these 100 rounds. So let me get set up, make sure I've got powder, make sure everything's calibrated, and we'll be good to go. 25 pieces of brass ready to go. Again, I'm going to kind of stand out of the way here, but we're going to get the powder rolling. Now for me, this particular setup works really well in terms of flow. I've got my brass over here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one round. So here's my first round, and I'm going to put it over here and let it load, and I'm just going to leave that. Then I drop the next powder charge. I put a bullet on. I come over, I put mine here. I cover it up with the die, and I put that in the number 1 position, and now that goes in. And if you see the screen here, you can see the graph as we go. And for me, this is, this is a process that works really well for me. Overall, my curve is going really well. They're mostly lining up, and the first, 10 or 12 are going to sort of set the baseline. And occasionally, I will see something that's way outside this early on, but a lot of times you don't know where the outlier is going to be. But right now, these are all looking really good. Now that one was a little funky, came down a little low, but it may well be within the norm once we're done with all 100 rounds. I usually won't automatically mark something or flip one upside down unless it's like way top or bottom on the graph. And if I do, I just flip the round over in the loading tray, and that just tells me that's one that I want to make sure gets labeled as a blow off or possibly a sighter if I really need it. So blow off would just be fouling the barrel in the morning because I clean the gun every night at a match. So at Southwest Nationals here, I'm going to be cleaning every night. So that means a couple rounds are going to blow out the barrel. And that's what I would use any of these funky rounds for. So that one, now that one, if you look, actually was kind of a straight line across. And as you see more of these lines accruing, what used to be something where I might go, well, I'm going to maybe pull that one, now looks like it's becoming more of the norm, but now this flat one across is probably actually going to be one that I pull because it is significantly different in line structure than the rest of it. Oh, now see, that one was way off, so we're going to flip that one right away, only because I know we're going to end up coming back to pull it anyway. And that one's just, for whatever reason's way out there, but that's why we use the amp press. Now, what I'm going to do with that one is just flip it upside down in the tray here. And I'm not going to bore you with all 100 rounds, but in a minute, I'll go ahead and just start loading everything else, and then we'll come back at the end and I'll show you what I do once we are done with all of this. And I just have a pretty simple procedure, but this won't take very long. I'll be right back. And there we go, 100 rounds. It took me just under half an hour, not too bad. So now what I want to do is I'm going to take this block, okay, and I am going to get my Click It clams. So these are my clam tainers here that these are going to get held in. And I'm always going to start with whatever needs to get pulled first. And if we look at the screen here, you're going to see there's, and I can click on it and highlight which number it is. So number 10, which we already pulled. And then down at the bottom here, we have number 32. So there's 30 and 2. We're going to flip that one over. And then I don't like some of these at the bottom here where they flatten out. So it's not going to kill me to pull out half a dozen of these here. So what do we got? Number 66, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 6. And then we're going to grab this one, 64. And you might be looking at this, graph thinking, wow, you really do a crappy job of reloading. And, to each their own opinion. But I'm actually pretty happy with the general consensus of the graph. I know there's people out there that are, absolutely, if it's not all just one perfect line, they're not going to shoot it. And hey, good for you. I've loaded plenty of stuff like this where I've shot single digit SDs on 50 rounds and, ES around 20, on the same 50 rounds. And so I know what I'm looking for. I know what I'm comfortable shooting. And that's really what this comes down to. I know what I want to see on the curves, and I know how it relates to my brass prep. And you're right. Could it be tighter? Yeah, probably. But I know how this is going to shoot. I know where my thresholds are on stuff, and that's okay. That's just where I want to be. So you can see I'm just kind of pulling out some of these random ones that are just, just outside. Did I already pull 26, 20, 25, and 6? So that pretty much covers any of the ones that I was overly concerned about. I'm pretty sure that's one I already pulled. Yeah, and same with that one. And I already pulled 95, which is right there. So yeah, there's nothing else on this curve. And so what you're going to see is like I kind of pull out the top part and the bottom part. And if you exclude those, and in fact, I'll even show you here. Now that I've pulled everything, I don't really care about saving this graph, if you will. So, oh wait, hang on. I forgot this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 51. Yeah, so that one there I was going to pull. And 68. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. Okay, so now that I've pulled all the ones I want to pull, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in and I am going to remove. It's going to change the numbering, so you want to be careful if you do this because it'll throw off these numbers because it actually pulls everything up. But I don't really care because I've already pulled everything. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove everything off of here that I've flipped upside down, and then you kind of get a different perspective on what this chart's going to look like. And I know this is probably a little painful to watch, but you'll get it in a second here. So I pulled all of these, and I didn't right? I pulled, yeah. So they've moved around number-wise, but I know I pulled all these flat ones down here. And we just have a couple more, 2 more I think is what it was. And I may not be exact on what I pulled, but I pretty much pulled all these that had, and like this one here, if you look, this green line, see how it's really flat instead of having this curve that all the others do? So that's the reason I want to get rid of that one. All right. So now, oh wait, I got rid of that one too, if I remember right. But now, I mean, I might have erased one that I didn't pull or something like that. But now, if you look at this, see how it looks a lot more consistent. And yeah, there's some difference in your final seating force up here. Again, I know I'm comfortable with that. But now if you look at this graph, it looks a lot better in terms of everything kind of being in that same wave, if you will, the flow. And so that's really what I'm looking for. Now that we've done that, what I want to do is I am going to mark the first rounds that are being pulled. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a Sharpie and I'm going to draw through the bottom. And the reason that I do that is because if I show you, this is my ammo block when I'm shooting a match. So I used to just mark on the side of the case, but when it's in the ammo block, you can't tell. But now if I put one in that I somehow inadvertently missed was one of my bad rounds, I can very quickly identify that this is a messed up round. Well, I shouldn't say messed up, but it's one that I don't want to shoot in record rounds. And now I know like to stay away from it. And sometimes I'll put them down here if they're blow-offs or something like that. But it just makes it really, really easy this way. And then I'll show you one other thing that I do in addition to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mark these up while they're in my tray here. So we're just going to kind of give them a couple of swipes. And it comes off when I tumble next time, so it's not a big deal. I just want to make sure that it's identifiable, because at the end of the day, that's why I'm using the amp press. I want to pull rounds that are suspicious. And I've been down this road with people before. No, I cannot tell you 100% that these rounds are any worse than the rest of them. All I can tell you is that they are suspicious. And I would rather pull a suspicious round ahead of time, because in my testing, I will say, more often than not, a suspicious round is going to have a problem. It just doesn't mean it's always going to have a problem. But now I've got those 12 rounds. And then I also am just going to put a quick stripe on the side of the cases. And again, this is so that when I am getting ammo ready the night before each day, I can quickly look and know if I have any problems. Now the rest of this, I don't care. I don't put it in any particular order. I'm not going to do any sorting by pressure or anything like that. Could I? Sure. But I'm not going to. And I'm just going to get this loaded up. Now, I'm not going to bore you with, me loading all this up, but I hope this gives you a decent idea of how at least I utilize the amp press, why it's important to me, especially before big matches, so that I can pull out the suspicious stuff and at least take a little bit of the what if out of the 300 something rounds I am taking to Southwest Nationals. With that, as always, have a good one. We'll talk later. And remember, there is always precision through process.